Okay, welcome everybody to the Big East Coast podcast. Um, Trying
This
again.
is yeah,
A
this is
lot
our,
of people,
our
a lot of
second
people
attempt here.
because a lot of people don't watch live. So a lot of people that actually just listen to the podcast will have no idea the difficulties we went through.
Pretty much,
You know?
and that's a good thing.
Yeah. So you do these live, you run into technical difficulties, and do the best you can to overcome them.
And luckily, it seems like we have been able to. So
Yes. I'm Rob. That's Chris. Uh, yeah. So with the Gavitt games and Feast Week and stuff, last week seemed like a bit of a step back, and maybe not as exciting as the first 2 weeks, more or less. And
yeah,
we kind of knew that was going to be the case going in, but yeah, I mean it was still a fun week, but just didn't have the luster as the first couple.
yeah, of course. And I mean, I think the most exciting game of the week, at least based on going into it, and then the end result was probably Butler Utah, and Butler took care of business against Utah in Salt Lake City on Monday. And then for much of the week, yeah, like you said, Big East didn't really have much attention on it, considering the most of the college basketball world was, paying attention to the Big Ten ACC Challenge because that took up a large bulk of the week last week. You had Indiana, North Carolina, you had Syracuse, Wisconsin, you had Duke, Michigan State. So it was, I guess, after being so dialed in for the first few weeks, like you said, between the Gavitt games, Nova, Purdue, Seton Hall, Iowa. You also had Creighton, Wisconsin, of course, and then all the Feast Week tournaments that a majority of the upper echelon Big East teams were in. That took up a lot of attention, but yeah, they did take kind of a step back, but I think that's going to change this week, certainly.
Oh yeah.
There are, I wouldn't say, I'm not sure if there's, marquee matchups, so to speak, but there's certainly games that are worth paying attention to.
Saturday there are some marquee matches.
Yeah.
Get a couple top 25 teams going at it in Butler and Cincinnati. Cincinnati is ranked number 22 now. That's something we'll get into in a little bit when we talk about the poll, because we do have to talk about the poll because there's a change at the top as well.
Mm-hmm. There is.
I guess we'll just jump right in. Villanova hopped Kentucky, obviously, with Kentucky's loss. Got 57 of the
65.
65
Yep.
first place votes. UCLA, who beat Kentucky, hopped from 11-2. Kansas at 3. They beat Stanford this week. Baylor is up to number 4 after defeating Xavier. Duke stayed at 5. Kentucky fell to 6. North Carolina fell to 7 after losing at Indiana, which, I mean, it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Gonzaga stayed at 8. Indiana hopped from 13 to 9, including jumping over Creighton, which I don't love.
Well, I mean,
I know they got the 2 good wins, but you got to look at the whole body of work. They lost to Fort Wayne as well.
I mean, that might just be an anomaly. But you can't really deny the fact that they did beat Kansas and North Carolina, one on neutral floor, one at home.
I just feel you should reward the undefeated teams, because I don't think Creighton has, all of Creighton's wins have been good, except for there might be one bad one in there somewhere.
I mean, they have 3 top 100 wins. They have 1 top 10 win with their win over Wisconsin. Their second best win is against the North Carolina State team that is ranked 63rd.
Yeah,
4 top 100, because I didn't realize Ole Miss was 100th. But in Indiana, meanwhile, they have the wins over Kansas and North Carolina, but the rest of their body of work is it's not exactly there. But I think that it's not. You have to credit them for that. So I can understand why some people might be disappointed that Creighton stayed where they are, but they're certainly going to have their opportunities to move up. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And Xavier fell to 13 from 7, which
yeah,
that's a bit of a steep drop for a road top 10 loss.
it is. But and I saw Gary Parrish talk about this yesterday, and I think that it's it's worth noting. They struggled with teams like Lehigh and Mizzou, who we know is one of the worst Power 5 teams. Well, I should say Power 5 because Power 5 is not a thing in college basketball. One of the worst high major teams in the country. They only beat them by 1 point in overtime. They didn't really, they played well against Clemson. They only won by 6. Their most lopsided one of the season was against Buffalo. So they have that compared to Creighton, because Creighton played them this week. But I can understand why perception might be waning on Xavier a little bit, because they did go to Waco and they did get dump truck.
Yeah,
and there's no way to put it. They looked terrible in that game towards the end. Like it was really bad. It was about as bad as I expected it to be, even though they surprisingly didn't get out rebounded, which makes you wonder how important rebounding really is towards success.
Well, it probably isn't. I mean, Anonymous Eagles talks about that all the time.
Yeah, and and on a poll related note, I understand, I guess, that UCLA's win over Kentucky was very impressive. It's not very easy to go into Rupp and win in the fashion that they did.
Nope.
Because I believe that they had like a 42-game win streak at Rupp. So does Villanova now, or 45 or something ridiculous like that. They hadn't lost at home since at least 2014. But here's my thing though. Here's my thing. UCLA's resume sans that Kentucky win to this point, and I understand this isn't going to matter, in several months from now. But I want to talk about to this point. Their best wins are Kentucky, and then a neutral floor win over Texas A&M, and then a win over Nebraska. Those are their only top 100 wins. Baylor, meanwhile, has the win over Xavier. They have a win over Oregon. And then they have wins over VCU, Michigan State, and Louisville. And I understand that perception right now is a little bit low on Michigan State because they're not healthy and they're not playing all that well because they have a group of freshmen. That's typically what will happen because not everybody's going to be Kentucky and they're not going to pull in all these ridiculous talents. But if you're going to jump up UCLA from the teens, all the way up to number 2, why the hell is Baylor where they're at?
Well, the funny thing is Baylor got more first place votes. So
yeah, I mean, like, it's seriously, like, I'm glad that they got more first place votes because, frankly, I could see the case for them to be the number 1 team, and I know people were freaking out about that over the weekend. But look at their resume to this point, and if you want to base it solely on resume, Baylor's is the best in the country right now, and it's not even remotely close. I know Indiana has the 2 top 5 wins, but they also lost to IPFW.
You could talk about Baylor. Maybe Oregon's not that good. VCU got dump trucked by Illinois. Michigan State obviously isn't great. Louisville is good though, and like you said, Xavier is good. So I mean,
yeah. I mean Oregon, they're just they struggled a little bit out of the gates, but they've won 5 in a row. They've done so pretty impressively. They had the comeback win over Boise on their home floor, sure, but they're going to be favored in their next 4 games until conference play when they play UCLA at home, which will be a fun game. So they should be able to be what? They'll be 11-2 heading into conference play. That's not terrible.
Part of my problem with the AP poll is it seems like it's more week to week instead of the entire body of work.
It is very week to week, and I think that there should be a week to week standpoint from it, obviously. But I also think that you need to take in everything that happens. You can't be super overreactive to what happens. But I think that certain things that happen in the week can change perceptions. Sure.
Yeah.
But I just I look at Baylor's resume right now, and it's very impressive. And I'm not sure why, the win over Kentucky has jumped UCLA so high to where they are. Not that they don't deserve it, but if you're gonna compare the two and their schedules to this point, it's night and day.
Yeah.
And
Um,
UCLA doesn't have like anything close to that besides the Kentucky win. And that's obviously a big thing, but that's what it's weighted on right now.
yeah. And anyway, just going back to the poll for a minute, Butler was 16, moved up from 18.
I was expecting a little bit of a bigger bump for them, but I guess I understand why they didn't. I don't really know. I thought that they would jump up a little higher, especially after taking it to Utah, really.
Yeah.
Like that game at times was not even close.
No.
And it's not easy to do that on the road. I don't care where you're going.
And Virginia lost, which was exciting.
Where did they drop down? I did not pay attention to the poll.
14 from 6.
That's a fair drop.
Just seeing
because
this, Notre Dame is 23. They play Villanova at the Prudential Center this week.
Oh, fun! All right, so we do get 2 top 25 matchups this week. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes. So
and that game is on what channel? Is that on Fox?
I think it's CBS.
I'm not sure. No, I'm not sure. I don't think so because I think they have the CBS Sports Classic this week. I think that's on Fox.
It is CBS.
Huh. Interesting. So they have a triple header?
Saturday. The next starting with
God.
You got 3 great Saturdays.
Oh no. I'm dumb. The CBS Sports Classic is next week.
Yeah. So I mean
that's right, because that's in Vegas.
Great too.
Yeah.
Like I said, 3 great Saturdays in a row, and then Christmas Eve. Obviously, there's no games, but
yeah,
yeah. So all right. So just jumping in more to a Big East perspective here. Not going to go team or game by game. We talked about Butler and Utah.
We did.
St. John's lost to Delaware State. Which not a loss to take. It was wire to wire too, I think. Yeah. No, St. John's led. Their largest lead was 3 points at the 15-26 mark.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much wire to wire.
That wasn't great. There are obviously going to be difficulties with this St. John's team. I don't know. I know there are a lot of people that are kind of like reacting like very, very poorly to this.
Well, after that game, there was a lot of fire Mullen.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I understand it's not going to a great start, but
no. And I mean they did get the big win against Tulane when they shot the ball incredibly well.
Yeah.
They'll probably pick up another win tonight against Northridge. I mean, it's not a good loss to take, and neither was Old Dominion. But they're still a young team, and people forget that.
Yeah.
In terms of, age and experience, they're one of the least experienced teams in the league. I mean, KenPom has them at 350. There are 351 teams.
Exactly.
So if you just want to go off experience, it's St. John's and Mississippi State. Neither team is good.
Exactly. And why aren't they good? Because they don't have any experience. It's just.
I mean, if you look at all the teams at the bottom of the experience, Kentucky's there, and then it's a bunch of garbage teams like Missouri and Washington's there, and it's hard to win with young players.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard for St. John's to win in the Big East when conference play starts with young players, given how the conference is made up.
Exactly, because it's a league that's seasoned and laden with experience all over the place.
I mean, the Red Storm are doing some things well so far. They're shooting the 3 incredibly well, like we talked about, especially against Tulane. They're not turning the ball over, which is nice to see when you have young guards. Defensively, they're still kind of finding their way. But yeah, no, the fire Chris Mullen stuff was ridiculous.
And I get that the Delaware State loss was inexcusable. I mean, they should have won that game because they're immensely more talented than a team from the MEAC. I mean, that's just how things work. They shouldn't have lost that game, but there are still positives, like you mentioned. They're shooting the 3-point ball a lot better than they did last year. They only shot 32% last year, which is one of the worst marks in the country Right now, they're shooting it at a 39.5% rate. And to be honest with you, even though they have a lot of youth, that's a mark that I think can, hang around a little consistently this year. It's not like they're shooting like 45% or something above, like so far above the median that, it's bound to come down. I mean, sure, that's almost 5 full percentage points above the Division I average. But we've seen teams shoot the 3-point ball that well and that effectively in times before. So I think that they can. It'll probably take a few steps down, but I think between like 36 and 37%, especially with a team with as much offensive talent as they do, between Levette and Pons, who have been, the driving force for why they're shooting the 3-point ball so well. Both are shooting above 48% on the season. I think that they can kind of keep this up and make the 3-ball effective for them, which is another strategy for another Big East team that we'll certainly be talking about in a few minutes too.
Yeah. So I mean, no, that wasn't a good loss. But I don't think it's necessarily like you said. I mean, they bounced back really nicely against a very bad Tulane team.
Yeah.
And they're still going to be growing pains, and that's just what you have to expect with St. John's.
I still really like the fact, and you touched on it, they're not turning the ball over that much. And you would expect young players who are, exuberant and getting their first taste of college basketball to be turning the ball over a lot and committing mistakes, but they still have a pretty high turnover rate relative to their experience and the rest of Division I. It's only at 17.4%.
Yeah.
So, and let me see here. They had only 11 turnovers in their first game. They had 16 in their second. Only turned the ball over 11 times on the road against Minnesota. It's not bad. They only turned the ball over 6 times against Michigan State. That's it. And to do that, and again, I don't care. That Michigan State's still pretty young. That's still a pretty good performance. They only turned the ball over 14 times against VCU, who is typically known for their good defense. They turned the ball over 15 times against Old Dominion. That's probably been their worst mark so far.
Yeah.
And then they turned it over 14 times against Delaware State. And these are, you're seeing their double-digit marks. They shouldn't be, near that, but they're still low double-digit marks. It's not like they're turning the ball over like 20-plus times a game.
No, exactly.
So there's still positive takeaways from this.
Yeah, if you look at it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. But they just have to tally wins up. It's simple as that. They have to avoid Delaware State happening to them again and again and again.
Let's see. We talked about Butler's win over Utah. I don't know if we need to talk about the undefeated teams any further than that. I mean, Villanova played big 5 games. Josh Hart had one of the quietest triple-doubles you'll hear about. Didn't even win Player of the Week.
Yeah, you know how quiet that was, honestly, and I was watching the game. I didn't realize it until a few hours later that he got a triple-double.
Yeah. Josh Hart didn't win Player of the Week. Rodney Bullock did because he had 36 against the team they played that wasn't Rhode Island.
They played don't tell me. Yeah.
Yes.
Duquesne or whatever it is.
We're going to talk about it because they've been really fun. But and I think I saw someone mention this. I don't remember who it was. It was someone on Twitter. But I think we could probably remove the rebuilding year tag from Providence this year. Maybe a little early to say that, but no, I mean, you look at it, they got the win over Rhode Island. The rest of their non-conference schedule is very easy. The lowest percent they have in KenPom is when they go to Boston College, and they're not going to lose to Boston College. So
no, I don't expect them to lose to BC, one of the worst teams in the
You figure they win the next 5 games, they're 11-2 going into Big East play.
Yeah, and their only losses are to Virginia on a neutral floor, and they played them pretty well, and Ohio State on the road. And Ohio State's proven to be a pretty decent team themselves, with their lone loss being to Virginia this year on the road.
It's kind of crazy how And this isn't necessarily their fault. There's a case that Seton Hall is the 7th best team in the Big East.
Yeah, it's weird how perception in this conference varies from week to week. But Providence is certainly, I don't know if I would use the word improved, but they're certainly helping their perception on a game-to-game basis.
They're getting a lot out of Rodney Bullock. He had to be the guy this year, and he's taken, a Ben Bentel type of leap in terms of scoring. Kieran Cartwright looks like the next, Providence point guard.
Yeah, I mean, they've had so many these past few years between, Vincent Council, Bryce Cotton, obviously Dunn, and now Cartwright. So
Jalen Lindsay has been consistent. Ryan Fazekas is doing what he does. And, Emmett Holt's been a really nice player, too.
Yeah, he has been very effective for them, especially with getting to the line. He has one of the best free throw rates on the team so far. And he's been a good shot blocker, too, and he's not turned the ball over. So what more can you ask for?
I mean, it still worries me a little bit going into Big East play because they are still pretty small.
Well, yeah. But a majority of the conference is getting, I wouldn't say shrinking, but they're certainly not like – it's not the land of giants anymore.
No, but, as long as they take care of business in those next 5 non-conference games, you go into Big East play 11-2, and, suddenly Ed Cooley's in the conversation for Big East Coach of the Year, too. But it's going to be real hard to win it from either Jay Wright, Greg McDermott, or Chris Holtman at this point.
Yeah, because unlike other conferences, I get the feeling that this conference doesn't always just give it to the coach of the most surprising team in the league or what have you.
I think I picked Greg McDermott in the preseason poll, so I'm going to stick with that. But if I had to vote today, it would be Chris Holtman.
Yeah, I would probably say Holtman as well, and I guess that's following the same formula because
I imagine you have Butler as the next undefeated team to, maybe not next to lose, but most likely to take a loss.
Let's see here. I'm gonna take a look at this here. So
Indiana next, or Indiana State since in Indiana at Indiana State. So
yeah, so Villanova plays LaSalle.
Yeah, that's nice.
Butler's playing Indiana State on Wednesday, and Creighton's playing Nebraska on Wednesday. I believe of those 3, all of them are away from home. Villanova plays LaSalle at the Palestra. Yeah, they play them at the Palestra. And Butler is going to Terre Haute, or however the hell you pronounce that city's name.
Yeah.
And Creighton is going to Lincoln.
I mean, I think all going to win.
Yeah, I would expect all 3 to win. I don't think that's a wild prediction by any means.
No. But then Saturday gets interesting, at least for Butler. I mean, Creighton plays Longwood after Nebraska, so. Yeah,
because Creighton is probably going to handle business against Longwood. Their win probability right now in KenPom is 99.7%. I would definitely lean with the Blue Jays there. Then you have Butler against Cincinnati at home. Certainly being at Hinkle helps them quite a lot. And then you have Villanova on a neutral floor against Notre Dame, who's certainly a very good team themselves. But both are projected to win those matchups. Butler is a little bit of a lower win probability at 66 compared to 75 for Nova. But
yeah, I don't. If Villanova gets past Notre Dame, they're going to be undefeated going into Creighton. I mean, it's Temple American DePaul, so.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that this is tough because I honestly think that Butler can beat Cincinnati and can beat them pretty handily if they,
Well, I do too, and I think they can beat Indiana, especially in Indianapolis. But in terms of which team would it surprise you the least if they take a loss?
Oh, it would surprise me the least if Butler lost before Villanova did.
Yeah,
it would surprise me much more if Villanova lost before Butler did. But that's mostly just considering Butler's schedule to this point because they play a good Cincinnati team and then they play a really good Indiana team next Saturday. So
Butler's got a couple wins in a row over Indiana, though I believe.
I believe that's correct. Let me check the play index here.
They lost in 2014.
Yeah.
And then they had the overtime win when Indiana was number 1, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
the time before that.
Yeah, that would be correct.
But, I mean, the records don't matter. And that event, you're going to have 4 ranked teams there. That's, like I said, Crossroads Classic is one of the better things in college basketball that people don't really talk about.
I definitely agree. And looking at the play index here, Butler and Indiana have split their last 4 matchups.
Yeah, so I mean,
2 apiece. Before the Crossroads Classic came about in 2006, in November, Butler beat Indiana by 5, and then Indiana in 2011 beat Butler 75-59. That game was actually not part of the Crossroads Classic. That was in Assembly Hall in Bloomington. So Butler has played at Indiana before. Will they ever again? We'll
looks like
see.
the one in 2006 was at Hinkle.
It looks like it was too.
And they played Notre Dame at Hinkle that year.
Huh. So it is possible for these teams to play each other.
Imagine that.
Anyways, and then, like you mentioned, Butler did take down Indiana when Indiana was ranked number 1 back in 2012. And then Indiana beat a 23rd ranked Butler team in 2014, 82-73. So something we'll have to give. It looks like Indiana leads the all-time series against Butler. That's not all that surprising. But yeah, that should be a very fun matchup as you look into the future there. But present time is the best time. So
we didn't really talk about Seton Hall. I mean, they took care of business and they're going to Hawaii. Be a really nice test to see where they're at when they play Cal, assuming they take care of Hawaii, which I mean, I imagine.
Yeah, but, I do agree that the Cal game is going to be more telling than the game against Hawaii because the Rainbow Warriors are not really on the level of the Pirates.
No.
Cal is more so. The teams are only separated by 8 spots in the KenPom rankings right now. Seton Hall 46th, California 54th. I had planned, and I guess I could still plan to do this, to look at the difference in defense from this year to last for Seton Hall, and I think that they are especially lacking right now defensively, and that's why they're having so many struggles.
Yeah. I mean, you should look into that. That'd be good.
No, yeah, and I've already started my research on that. It's probably gonna be a post on the site. I had aimed for it to do it today, but I ran into some difficulties, so I might wait for these 2 Hawaii games.
Yeah, there you go.
Get a bigger base for my study here, because then they will have played 9 games as compared to 7. But it's not looking great, and I suppose that's why perception's waning slightly because
Miles Powell hit 7 threes against Columbia.
Yeah, Miles Powell's legit. Okay, he's a very good offensive player. He's going to make a run at Big East Freshman of the Year for sure.
It's starting to maybe look like a little bit of a runaway. Not as much as last year, but I think it's Justin Patton's to lose right now.
Yes, I would agree.
He won this week. And Justin Patton, he's pretty good. And it seems kind of un-Creighton-like that he would maybe leave for the NBA next year, but when you're 7 feet tall and you can do things that Justin Patton can do, he's like Jeff Grosel, but much better.
Rob, he's 7 foot tall, and do you think that he does things that you can't teach?
Yes.
Okay, I had to leave that mention in. I'm sorry, but that needed to be done.
But he hit a double-double against Buffalo. And fun to watch. Really enjoy watching Justin Patton. Really enjoy watching Creighton.
Yeah, no, they're a very fun team.
It's like if you took Virginia and then they did the exact opposite and were actually fun and didn't make you hate basketball.
Hey, in fairness, Villanova doesn't exactly run the fastest of games either. Their tempo is pretty low.
Villanova, I like to watch them because they've perfected basketball. They have a pure product.
All right, without looking, Rob, do you think that Creighton has the highest tempo in the Big East?
I know Marquette runs pretty fast. I think it is Marquette, actually, because Anonymous Eagle yesterday during the Georgia game tweeted.
Yeah.
along those
Yeah.
lines. And Marquette, that's a nice segue. I don't know if you planned that.
That was absolutely planned because I thought you were going to say it was Marquette. And I was going to say, nope, it's going to be the next team we talk about, Marquette, who has the 22nd ranked adjusted tempo in the country, the highest in the Big East Conference.
I know, you don't want to make too much about a win over a middling SEC team, but man, Marquette needed that.
Yeah, yes, they absolutely did. And you can say what you want about them being a middling SEC team, but they had to win that game.
Yeah, and I think Georgia, with one more player, they would be a threat nationally because Madden and Frazier are very good.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They are two very good players. Both are going to be SEC Player of the Year candidates. But, yeah, Marquette kind of handled Georgia.
Well, they hit 1,000,000 threes in the first half.
Yeah.
I think they were like 8 for 10, something along those lines.
They went off.
Sam Hauser, another guy who's going to be in the conversation for Freshman of the Year, 19 points, hit a bunch of threes. Juwan Johnson didn't have a triple-double in his career till yesterday, or a double-double.
Really?
He's a senior. 16, 10, and 5 steals yesterday. So he was a big part yesterday too. But yeah, big win for Marquette. They've won 4 in a row now after
4 in a row.
Not doing so well at the Garden. It feels like that Pittsburgh game might be one that they end up regretting.
Yeah.
You hope not, but
although considering what's happened with them, I think they might regret the Michigan game more.
That's true.
Because even though Michigan's ranked right now 26th, they're not exactly looking so good.
But if Creighton or if Marquette beats Wisconsin, that kind of negates the 2 losses, really, to me at least.
Yeah, it'll certainly look good for them, and it'll help the fact that, and I don't know necessarily if they're helped by the fact that they only have one true road game in their non-conference schedule. Obviously, they at least left the state of Wisconsin to play in the 2K Classic against Michigan and Pitt. But and for that reason alone, it was imperative that they win their one road game, and they did.
I mean, I'm sure it was mostly Michigan fans at the Garden because there are a lot of Michigan alums in New York City. I'm sure Pitt probably had more fans there than Marquette.
Yeah.
So, you call them neutral site games, but, it's, but yeah, hopefully they don't look Fresno en route to the Wisconsin game. I don't think they will. No,
probably not. In Fresno, they should win that game. Fresno right now is 5-2. They've lost to Prairie View A&M and Cal State Bakersfield, the former being the worst of the 2 losses, and they lost by 14. No, I'm sorry, they lost by 6 on their home floor to Prairie View A&M.
Yeah,
Prairie View A&M, who is 2-6, and lost to Lamar and UTSA. That is not a good team. Fresno State is not a good team. They're not a good team in the Mountain West. They were projected to be 8-10 in that conference and near the bottom. So Marquette better hope they beat Fresno.
They did make the NCAA tournament last year, but they lost a lot of pieces.
Yes, they lost a lot of pieces. That was a very experienced team. They lost Cesar Guerrero, Julian Lewis, and Marvell Harris to graduation. So
yeah. So that's a game that Marquette needs to win.
Yes, they do. And I know Jerron Hopkins and Paul Watson are pretty good, but no, Marquette needs to win that game. And they probably will.
Is there anything to talk about for this week before Saturday? Not really.
No. I mean, we could talk about how DePaul did get a 3-star recruit yesterday.
Oh, yeah, they did. That was good. Paul Reed, I believe is his name. So
yes.
They're building a nice class for 2017. Dave Lato and his staff are actually doing a very nice job recruiting. No one ever likes to say nice things about DePaul, but they didn't play very well against Northwestern.
They didn't, but they did make the game close in the second half. To their credit.
You know, they didn't roll over and die.
Exactly, and that's, moral victories and whatnot, but still, you like to see the fact that they did play with some fire in the second half and were able to, salvage that and make it look a lot better than it was.
Yeah.
Because it looked really bad after the first half.
Yeah, and then I do want to talk about Providence, Rhode Island, too, because I don't think many people got to watch it. It was a great game.
No, and from what it sounded like, it didn't seem like a lot of people got to watch the ending either.
Yeah, I mean, I know they had it on some of the Fox Sports regional ones, and they switched it for the Blues, I believe, which just sounds terrible.
Yep.
I don't. But yeah, great game. Ed Cooley has now beaten Rhode Island every year. I think going back to Keno Davis, I know it's 7 in a row. So whoever was coaching Providence 7 years ago, I don't think it was Ed Cooley.
No, I believe that was I don't know who that was at that time, but it definitely was not Ed Cooley.
It was Keno Davis.
Yeah.
So yeah, Providence, like we talked about, they're pretty good. So this week, pretty light until Saturday. St. John's and Cal Northridge tonight. UConn Syracuse also tonight, if you're into that sort of thing.
Yes.
At the Garden. They played a pretty good game there once.
I have heard the same.
But we don't talk about that. I'm not going to waste my time talking about a mid-major Connecticut team and also Syracuse.
I would have just said a middling Connecticut team because they're not very good this year.
No, they're not very good, and they lost Eldrick Gilbert.
Yeah, which isn't great.
Tuesday night, obviously, Seton Hall in Hawaii. Big Gus Johnson, Bill Raftery game.
Yep.
Fun times. Villanova LaSalle in some Big 5 action.
Yep.
ESPN2. Is that it for tomorrow? No, Lamar and DePaul.
Yeah, which DePaul should win because Lamar is awesome.
I believe there is at least one more game Tuesday night, and it is Providence and Brown. Brown is actually the only home non-conference loss that Providence has taken under Ed Cooley. Fun fact.
Yep.
So hopefully they don't do that again. Also, Duke plays Florida.
Yeah, which should be fun.
Yeah. Xavier, Colorado. There's a game on Wednesday night. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that should be interesting on the ill-fated Pac-12 network.
Yeah. And then Creighton, Nebraska's on the Big Ten network. So the two best games on the Big East on Wednesday night are on channels that no one gets. Well, actually, Creighton fans probably get the Big Ten network.
Yeah. But I would say Creighton fans probably get the Big Ten network, but Xavier fans definitely don't get the Pac-12 network.
Yeah, no one gets the Pac-12 network.
Yeah.
Also, Seton Hall and Cal play Wednesday night. Big pro.
And Butler's on ESPN 3. So.
It's like the Horizon League days.
Yeah.
That's going to be a really good day for us for viewing guides.
Yep.
So no one's going to know where to find anything.
Exactly.
Is it for Wednesday? I think it is.
Believe so.
Georgetown probably plays sometime this week. Maybe. It's a fair bet.
Georgetown does not play. They play on Saturday.
Well, that's their finals this week.
I guess so. Yeah.
Well, they've also traveled a lot. They went to the Hawaii.
Yep, exactly.
Fordham and St. John's also Thursday night. That'll be cool. Fordham beat St. John's last year.
Yeah, exactly. It's a revenge game for them. So.
Vin Scully went to Fordham.
He did.
Here's your fun Fordham fact. Creighton Longwood on Friday night. And the nice thing about that game is it's at 6:30 Central, so you can go, if you're in Omaha, watch Creighton beat down a Longwood team that is not great. Not great at all, actually. 2-4. and then you can still enjoy your Friday night.
Exactly.
All right, so Saturday. I know we touched on Marquette, Wisconsin already. That's happening. Cincy Butler, we talked about. That's happening. Notre Dame, Villanova. But then, you keep looking further down the card. Utah comes to Cincinnati to play Xavier. That'll be fun. DePaul and Temple could actually give you a decent game. It's in Miami. So if nothing else, solid scheduling by those two to get out of Chicago and Philadelphia for
exactly
a couple days in the middle of the winter. Yeah, a lot of good games Saturday. Depending on what conference you like, you can definitely find something. I thought there was a really bad Big East game. Not UMass Providence. Worse than that. Maybe not.
Does not appear as such.
No. I know most of the games are good. They're all also relatively early in the day, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's gonna be a fun week. Yeah, Utah Xavier is the last game of the day for the Big East, and there are 7 games, and that one tips off at 5:30 Eastern. So
yeah, so it's a very busy afternoon.
I believe the Heisman ceremony. That's probably why they don't schedule games later.
Precisely.
New 30 for 30 that night. That'll be good.
Yep.
And then Sunday, St. John's plays LIU Brooklyn at the Garden, which I don't think is technically considered a home game for St. John's.
Actually, it's a Barclays Center, not the Garden.
Oh, yeah. They play Penn State at the Garden.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that one's a home game either, technically. I think it's part of the no, maybe I'm confusing it, because I know they got one like Holiday Classic thing, and that might be the one at Barclays, but I know the Garden has a Holiday Classic too.
Yep. Yeah, they all kind of run together. They're all like the same.
Yeah.
So
either way, St. John's is in New York. Well, they're always in New York, but
yeah,
Queens, Brooklyn, and then the Garden is in Manhattan, right? I'm not super up on my New York geography, but from what it seems, the Garden's kind of smack in the middle of New York.
Yep, it is.
So St. John's doing a little tour of the boroughs. Boroughs.
Not boroughs. Boroughs.
Yeah, I said that, and I realized it was not the right word. So yeah, that's what's going on this week. Fun times. Yeah. Cool.
Absolutely.
Oh, look at that. We ended up having a question.
We did.
Who from Xavier needs to step up? If you're asking that in regards to their loss at Baylor, I don't think anyone.
I think Makura.
Well, yeah, I mean, ideally he won't go 2 for 16. That was bad. But Trayvon Blewett had a really nice game, and I think Edmund Sumner had a really nice game too. Obviously a big thing comes down to getting Miles Davis back, which who knows when that's going to happen. It still seems up in the air. But they're probably not going to lose another non-conference game. And then they're probably going to start Big East play 3-0 unless Georgetown gives them a game. But Georgetown's a mess right now.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Xavier's in a fine position. I understand their fans aren't used to them losing non-conference games. They haven't done that in a while. But that's not a bad loss at all to a Baylor team who should be a top, 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. Not overall, but, top 4.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about Baylor fans chanting "We want Kansas" at the end of that game, by the way.
Well, you did decide to let Kansas fans into our mentions, which, as Mizzou alums, is kind of like treasonous.
Yeah, but don't chant that. You're going to play them. Why don't you chant like "We want Nova" or something?
I don't know.
No respect.
They should have just chanted "We want Bama" just for laughs.
There it is. Yes. But, they went and challenged themselves. And that's what they talked about. I think it was Sean Farnham who's a very good commentator, guy I really enjoy listening to.
Mm-hmm.
He did the game, and he said, it's not a bad loss for Xavier. They challenged themselves. They played a top 10 team on the road, and they lost. I mean, that's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a winnable game for Xavier. I mean, I know the final score doesn't show it, but they also went cold for that big towards the end. I mean, it was a close game throughout. Xavier was winning a good portion. They just couldn't get it done. And it wasn't the rebounding, which we thought it would be. They shot themselves in the foot with turnovers, and they were dreadful from the free throw line.
Yep.
You can't overanalyze it, though, sometimes. You play a good team and you lose. I mean, use it as a learning experience like Villanova did against Oklahoma last year.
Exactly.
I mean, you could argue that Villanova losing to Oklahoma and Virginia last year was the best thing for them. So, challenge yourself and don't let the fact that you might lose take away from it.
Precisely.
It's good for the team and it's good for the sport.
Precisely. And that question came from Neil Tibbs at Neil247. Thank you, Neil, for providing us with our lone question of the podcast.
Yes. That's about it. So I think that's about it. I mean, I know we don't have questions. I don't know if you have anything else you want to touch on, but
no, not really. It's been a pretty easy week, so
obviously, like we said, Villanova's number one, first time since all the way back in February 2016. So and they're number one in the coaches poll too, which is not surprising.
No, not at all.
But the coaches poll isn't a very good barometer.
No, not really.
Because coaches don't have time to watch games.
Exactly.
But, All right. So, let's see. We talked about the undefeated teams. We talked about which game are you looking forward to the most if you had to just pick one?
Probably Villanova Notre Dame.
Okay. I mean,
probably Villanova Notre Dame.
I would probably pick Marquette, Wisconsin, but I could definitely see Villanova Notre Dame being. I don't think this Notre Dame team's as good as the past couple of years. I mean, I know they're 8-0, they're off to a good start, but.
Oh well, no. I mean that's obvious because this isn't anywhere on the level of the team that went to the Elite Eight a couple years ago and challenged an unbeaten Kentucky. I don't know if even they're on the level of the team that did so well last year either, that went all the way to the Sweet 16. Or I should actually know they went to the Elite Eight last year too. So
yeah. I think Mike Bray just does an incredible job every year.
Yes,
and then he's doing it again. And no, it should be a good game. I would just personally pick Marquette in Wisconsin. That game's been pretty crazy the last couple of years.
Yeah. Hey, that's totally fair. I can definitely see that. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would imagine we're done here.
Yep, we are.
So, thank you for tuning in to the Big East Coast podcast, free of technical difficulties. We have to go get the AP poll and players of the week and such, and the power rankings.
Yep.
Up on the website, so be sure to check in for those this afternoon, or if you're listening to this on a day that's not Monday and you haven't seen all those things, go look at them on the website.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I'm Rob, that's Chris, and we will see you next week.